If there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that social media is broken. Because we are. Our biology isn't ready for it, and our bad habits prey on our worst instincts, compounding into, well, have you taken a look around lately? There are three key facets of contemporary social media that make it especially insidious, and if we're going to fix it, it starts there. The feed. The root of it all, in my opinion, the heart of darkness, is the feed. The feed is an unending spring of content by design, and the further down you go, the weirder and less relevant it gets. The algorithm starts grasping for straws, all in the interest of continuing to deliver advertisements. Remember back in the day when you'd scroll through Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and reach the end? Like a frog in a pot slowly brought up to a boil, we didn't notice anything as the entire platform was swapped out underneath our feet. It went from, here's what Daniel said, to here's what Daniel likes, here are people Daniel follows, and you haven't even seen Daniel's last 10 tweets because apparently you don't interact with them enough, so we don't show them to you anymore. You never know if you've seen everything or if you're up to date on everyone's most recent posts. You kind of just keep scrolling, playing the relevant post lottery with each refresh of the page, until you run out of time, patience, or interest. All to benefit the corporate interest of maximizing the profitability of your eyeballs, the actual product these companies are selling. Accountability. The second great sin of social media is the lack of accountability coupled with extreme visibility. Being a cunt online isn't all that discouraged, and anyone can go around cunting it up to their heart's content. People, and former presidents, have built entire careers around being a cunt on the internet. Social media incentivizes these utter wastes of carbon and energy by ping-ponging their hot takes and reductive points into as many controversial places as possible, only further pushing the already desert-like global consciousness into a complete intellectual wasteland. How many times have you looked at a post you vehemently disagreed with and thought, yo, who the fuck is this blue check motherfucker? Stupidity used to exist in a vacuum, but now we've figured out that we can use stupidity to split ignorance atoms until everything online looks like 1945 Hiroshima. And after sowing all these fuckery seeds, platforms come in with haphazard moderation guidelines riddled with double standards that mostly amount to, if enough people yell about it, we'll take it down, playing both sides of the controversy ball. It's not until it poses a potential profit problem that something is done, and now they've opened a free speech Pandora's box that they'll never be able to close. The reward system. The third sin of social media is the reward system. The likes, the retweets, the followers. It has conditioned us to chase a 21st century Pavlovian response rather than something real. We just want the feeling of an affirming click, not a conversation. We want to shower in wordless praise or trade barbs like a bitter married couple nearing divorce, only looking to get in one good low blow before sleeping on the couch. And everyone's on it. Do you know anyone under 40 who has no social media presence? It's pretty impressive. It's like finding a vagabond riding the rails, operating completely outside of society. So much of what's social these days is there, and by not participating, someone is willfully discarding a great percentage of the modern social experience. And we all hate it. But we can't look away. We hate the feeling that there's a conversation going on that we aren't a part of. That there might be an inside joke with a billion people that you don't know about. And once you do know about it, you can't just get rid of it or forget the feeling. If you've never done a heavy bump of cocaine off a switchblade in the bathroom of a warehouse rave in Detroit with a Marlboro Red 100 hanging out of your mouth, oh boy, you don't know what you're missing. But once you have, you can't unknow it. Social media is one giant coke party that no one's ready to step away from, and we wonder why we can't fall asleep at night and wake up feeling like shit every morning. Whether it's 5 years from now or 50 years from now, at some point we will look back at social media as one great behavioral case study. We're too caught up in it now to understand what it is, but eventually wisdom will prevail. And it's going to look a lot like fast food and smoking do now. My grandparents ripped 2 packs a day each without ever even considering the concept of carcinogens. Nobody in their time did. but then neither of my parents ever touched them. And my parents reproduced and raised kids in the peak fast food era of the late 90s and early 2000s, where companies pumped out mass-produced, nutritionally bereft, processed foods aimed directly at impressionable kids and overworked parents that today I wouldn't even feed to a dog. And next are the kids raised by tablets and YouTube. This process will repeat ad infinitum. Boomers figured out, how to do everything wrong. My Gen X parents figured out how to stop smoking, millennials figured out how to eat right and exercise, and at some point, someone's going to figure out social media before civilization goes right over the edge of this flat earth. Which means the only thing we can do is de-escalate, diversify, decentralize. We're laying in the hospital bed, hitting that morphine drip until it maxes out. It's not sustainable, it's not something we can continue. But the alternative is already out there. Telegram is an app that might just give us all the things we've always wanted and always received from social media without perpetuating the problems. Here's why. There's no unified feed. It's not algorithmic. It's direct, chronological content not obfuscated with recommendations of what you may like in order to keep you scrolling. Telegram has 3 distinct avenues of communication: one-on-one chats, group chats, and channels. Rather than competing in the great shouting match of just Twitter, you get your own room in the vast internet to decorate how you see fit. Uninfluenced by the crazy reaches of, your friend liked this, take a look at it, here's what your friend commented on, here's what people in your country are talking about. Fuck out of here. Everything is only 1 degree removed. Everything you see is the word of someone you know, care about, or have a reason to be chatting with. Something you sought out. Something for which you clicked join or subscribe. You don't see all the discussions that all your friends are having on all the topics, which is an absolute relief. Telegram decentralizes moderation because group and channel admins get to set their own rules and enforce them accordingly. There are some basic app-wide bannable offenses in the case of terrorist content, child abuse, copyrighted material, and outward threats of violence, but otherwise Telegram is pretty laissez-faire about it. Because people aren't all looking at one feed, rather than a giant desert, it's more like a sprawling metropolis with different neighborhoods where Telegram lets the people police their own communities. And as such, you don't have polarized sides of ideological battlegrounds calling for certain people to be removed or restricted in the great cacophonous void. You simply don't see them or interact with them. Free speech. What an interesting concept. I don't have to know or see what Ben Shapiro, that guy who looks like how it feels to get kicked in the balls, thinks about current events or scroll past the latest viral article on how dental floss is secretly racist. And that's better for everybody. The controversy leeches who grow more powerful the angrier their opponents get simply aren't given the oxygen. Telegram doesn't fan the flame war. You can go there and think whatever way you want and talk about whatever you want, safe from the tear-drinking trolls who have nothing constructive to contribute to society. Which is also what solves that dopamine problem. Telegram isn't driving consumption, it's driving conversation, genuine, real interaction over engagement. It exists outside the controversy mill. You can't get ratioed, you aren't reading through copy-pasted replies from bots looking to start shit or earning points for a team in the ineffective idea sport tournament. The nature of content changes as well. Telegram might also be the cure for clickbait. Because of the separation and specification, it doesn't force content creators or media outlets to write sensationalist headlines or make absurd, "you won't believe this," thumbnails to stand out and compete for limited clicks. You don't need to tell people to subscribe and click the bell. If they're watching a video on Telegram, they already effectively did. Telegram isn't in the ad business. There aren't shareholders. There isn't a stock price. The only people Telegram is beholden to are its users, which can't be said of any other app or platform. Something happened in the last 5 to 7 years that fundamentally changed online media. It's simply become too much. Too many people, too many bots, too many thoughts, too many ads. It's like watching old school TV in the age of streaming. Remember when you only got 8 minutes of a show and then had to watch 3 minutes of advertisements? And all the shows were tightly packaged procedurals where everything perfectly wraps up in the last 5 minutes? With no season-long narrative continuity, so you can just watch any of them at any time without feeling lost but never go anywhere? There's a reason for that. Everyone watched TV, and as a result it became a reflection of everyone. The lowest of common denominators. Completely inoffensive, yet totally uninspired. That same sentiment is now in online content. Social media doesn't feel like an evolution of MySpace or early Reddit or the first years of YouTube. It feels like a bastardized future dystopia version of TV from a bad 80s movie. Because it is. They have the same goal: find ways to make you watch as many advertisements as possible. And TV pushed the absolute limit. Can you imagine if YouTube made you watch a 3-minute pre-roll ad in front of this video? A 3:8 ratio? You'd fucking riot. But next time you're on social media, count the number of ads between content posts. They're so sophisticated now you sometimes don't even notice that you just scrolled past one. The same internet that was meant to cure us of corporate bullshit became, well, corporate bullshit because that's what we do as humans. We make something cool, then the suits come, then we leave to go somewhere else. And the boat's leaving, boys! Right after a word from our sponsors. Remember when they'd do that? Every show had the ad break right before the climax of the storyline, then would come back and do the wrap-up portion? Jesus. Telegram feels like the spiritual successor to the internet as it was meant to be. The anti-corporate, pro-intellectual, free speech, build it and they will come platform meant to break down barriers and catapult us into a new age. The unexplored corners of weird content and niche communities, a heterogeneous place for conversation and real connection. Can you imagine that? A communication platform where the goal is to talk to people? What a crazy idea.